Your kidney will be put to good use. Now, about our divorce. The surgical stitches were still fresh when my husband Leland tossed the divorce papers onto my hospital bed. There wasn't a hint of remorse on his face. Seeing his cold expression, I crumpled to the floor and burst into tears. Satisfied with my reaction, Leland walked out of the room. But he didn't know. He didn't know that the moment the door clicked shut, a smile spread across my lips, and those tears were just the first act of my perfect revenge. This is where today's story begins. Before diving into the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay updated on the latest stories. Now back to the story. The late afternoon sun streaming through the hospital window bathed Leland's bed at Lakeshore University Hospital in white light. Alara Croft, with delicate movements, dipped a cloth into a basin of warm water. After wringing it out, she gently wiped the sweat beading on Leland's forehead. "I'm thirsty. Get me some water," he demanded in a rough, irritable voice. Alara silently took a bottle from the nightstand and poured a glass. She added a straw and carefully brought it to his lips. Leland took a small sip and made a face of disgust. "How do you expect me to drink this? It's room temperature. Bring me ice water right now." Without protest, Alara took the glass and headed to the water dispenser at the end of the hall. Just then, a floor nurse was changing his IV bag and took the opportunity to speak with her. "Ma'am, you're here again today. That's true dedication. Your husband is a fortunate man." Alara, returning with the cold water, forced a smile. "He's my husband. It's what I should do." Even so, it's the first time I've seen someone care for their partner so diligently after a kidney transplant. Mr. Croft must have done something truly good in another life to find a wife like you, the nurse said admiringly as she put away the blood pressure cuff. Alara handed Leland the glass of cold water with ice cubes floating in it. He drank in large gulps and then slammed the glass back onto the nightstand with a loud, abrupt thud. Alara's heart sank, watching him. She tried to take his hand, but Leland violently pulled it away as if her touch burned him. Go home very soon." "Thank you so much, doctor," Alara said, relieved, bowing her head. The doctor looked at her warmly. "You've also been through a lot, Alara. As the donor, how is your recovery going?" "I'm doing well, thank you. Still, don't strain yourself. Living with a single kidney isn't easy." As soon as the doctor left, Leland abruptly sat up as if he had been waiting for that exact moment. He opened the nightstand drawer and pulled out a stiff envelope. "Here." With an expressionless face, he tossed it onto the bed. Alara, gripped by a terrible premonition, picked it up with trembling hands. She couldn't believe what she saw. It was a divorce agreement. "What? What is this?" Her voice sounded like a whimper. Leland, looking out the window with indifference, replied, "Can't you see it? Are you blind? Sign it. We're done." "Why? Why are you suddenly saying this?" "It's not sudden. I've been thinking about this since before the operation." Leland's voice was cold as ice. Rage began to swell inside Alara. "Now that you have my kidney and you're fine, you could say that." "Yes, I'll make good use of your kidney. You should be grateful for that alone." In that instant, the memory of 4 months ago flashed vividly in Alara's mind. In that very same hospital room, Leland, wasting away daily from kidney failure, desperately grabbed her hand. His eyes were filled with burning tears. "Alara, please save me. I don't want to die like this." Leland buried his face in the back of her hand, sobbing like a child. "They say I can live with one of your kidneys. I'll pay you back for the rest of my life, I swear it. I'll wash your feet every day if I have to. Please save me. Our son needs me by his side, doesn't he?" he begged, rubbing her hand against his cheek. "How can we let our son grow up without a father?" Alara, wiping away her tears, made a decision. "I'll give you my kidney. You have to live." "Alara, really? You'll really give it to me?" Leland hugged her with a force that nearly broke her. "I love you, Alara. I truly love you. I'll trust you all my life." Back in the reality of the present, the divorce papers slipped from Alara's hands and fell to the floor. "Senses. You're a woman with a big heart. Try to understand. He'll be back to his old self soon." "Mother?" Alara looked up at her. For an instant, the woman's gaze turned icy, but she immediately recovered her pleasant expression. "My Leland isn't like that, is he?" she said, giving him a sharp look. "No matter what, you can't treat Ilara like this. She's the woman who saved your life." Leland, irritated, turned his head. "Mom, drop it. It's a done deal." "Done deal my foot. If it weren't for Ilara, you wouldn't be in this world right now," Miss Genevieve yelled, losing control. But Ilara, in the midst of the perfect farce, saw the raw truth. Miss Genevieve's hand, resting on her shoulder, was squeezing with unconscious force. "Sweetheart, it's best if you go home for today. I'll have a serious talk with Leland." Ilara stood up, inert as a puppet. The surgical scar on her side ached, like the betrayal itself. She grabbed her purse and headed for the door. "Ilara," Miss Genevieve called her name. "Don't worry. Everything will work out." Ilara, her hand on the doorknob, turned slowly. "You knew everything from the beginning too, didn't you?" "What are you saying, honey? Not in my worst dreams." The woman pounded her chest as if she couldn't believe it. "Since your father-in-law passed, I've considered you like a daughter. How can you say something so cruel?" Her performance was flawless, but Ilara was no longer fooled. She walked out of the room without looking back. As she walked down the empty hall, tears streamed down her cheeks. She couldn't believe the price for handing over a vital organ. A part of her own life was a simple sheet of divorce paper. It was then that she faintly heard the conversation from inside the room. "You did great, my son. Now that we're rid of that burdensome woman, we can start fresh." It was Miss Genevieve's true voice. Ilara collapsed onto the floor. The cold hospital hallway tiles seemed to steal the little warmth she had left. 10 days after Leland's discharge, Ilara was packing her things in a small apartment near Lakeshore University Hospital, a cramped, unfamiliar place where she had lived for 3 months to care for him. "I have to go home," she told herself weakly. "Trying to break into someone else's house?" the woman asked, looking her up and down with disdain. "Who am I? This is my house," Ilara retorted, astonished, raising her voice. "Your house? Ha! What nonsense," the woman said with a laugh. "This property belongs to our company. You must be mistaken." "What? What are you talking about?" Just then, Leland's voice called from inside. "Isolde, who is it? What's all that noise?" Leland calmly appeared from the living room. There was no trace of the operation left. He looked completely recovered. He was wearing high-end athletic wear that fit his body well. "Ah, it's you, Ilara," he said, with the same coldness one gives an annoying stranger on the street. "Leland, what is the meaning of all this? And who is this woman?" To avoid a scene in front of the neighbors, "Come inside and we'll talk." Reluctantly, Leland let her in. The interior of the house was completely different. The warm, white-toned furniture Ilara had chosen with such care was gone. In its place was a minimalist charcoal sectional and a stark glass coffee table. "Where are my things?" "Your furniture? We threw it out." "Obviously, who would want to keep that tacky stuff?" Isolde Thorne answered, sitting elegantly on the sofa. "You threw them out?" Ilara's voice trembled. "Listen closely," Leland explained coldly, arms crossed. "This apartment is now the property of Isolde's company, so you no longer have any right to live here." "That can't be. This is the house we bought together with our blood and sweat." "Don't make me laugh. I earned the money," Leland scoffed. Ilara's gaze then fell upon a shelf. Standing lonely there was the old music box Leland had given her when he proposed, an object full of memories with a ballerina that spun when wound. "At least that!" Ilara reached out for the music box as if hypnotized, but Leland was faster. He slapped her hand away. "This sentimental trinket was still here," he said, showing it off with contempt. "No, please don't," Ilara pleaded. "I'm sick of your kitsch." Leland smashed the music box onto the glass coffee table without mercy. Crash! It shattered with a horrible sound. The ballerina's neck snapped and her head rolled away. "Why? Why are you doing this?" Ilara knelt, picking up the broken pieces. "Because I want a clean slate." "If you look at the papers, you'll see you consented to everything," Leland said triumphantly. "Remember all those documents you signed without reading before the operation?" Then Ilara understood everything. The countless papers Leland had given her supposedly necessary for the surgery. "You planned all of this from the very beginning, didn't you?" "You could say that," Leland shrugged, unperturbed. "You only wanted my kidney so you could abandon me later." Abandon is such an ugly word. Let's say everyone goes their separate ways. Alara stood up, tightly clutching the fragments of the music box. Blood welled up from her palm, cut by a sharp piece. You're going to pay for this. Divine punishment will fall upon you. Ooh, scary. A threat. Should we record that, Leland? Isolde mocked, pulling out her phone. With her bloody hand, Alara grabbed the doorknob. Just as she was leaving, she heard Leland's voice behind her. Oh, by the way, your stuff is in the utility closet. Your clothes and your handful of junk. Without looking back, Alara left the apartment. In the elevator, her legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. The concierge, with a look of pity, handed her 2 dusty boxes. Man, relationship issues are tough. Hang in there, he said by way of comfort. Thank you. Alara left the building with the boxes. The chilly evening breeze lashed at her wounded cheeks. She took a cab to the house of her friend Clara Reed, who was also recently divorced. The streetlights, once familiar, were blurry through the window. It was because of the tears. On Clara's living room sofa, Alara sat absent, as if her soul had been ripped out. Her lost gaze was fixed on the television, but she saw nothing. She had been like that for 4 days, barely moving from the same position. Alara, please eat something. Come on, Clara pleaded, offering her a steaming bowl of soup. I'm not hungry. I don't feel like it. Alara shook her head weakly. Just 1 spoonful. You're going to get sick. What will you do if you pass out? Clara forcefully put the spoon in her hand. Alara took a spoonful at her friend's insistence, but put the spoon back on the plate. Clara, I think it would be better if I just died. What? Alara, snap out of it. Don't say such foolish things. Clara called. She told Alara, he can see us tomorrow afternoon. We're going. No excuses. The following afternoon, Alara and Clara arrived at the law office. It was a sober, organized atmosphere. A young lawyer escorted them to the conference room. Good morning. I'm Attorney Arthur. Please have a seat. The attorney politely handed them his business card. Alara Croft, she said in a thin voice. Clara has already given me the broad strokes of the situation. Could you tell me everything in detail? As if confessing, Alara told everything. Her husband's kidney failure, her donation, the sudden divorce notice on the day of his discharge, and the meticulously planned fraud to strip her of her assets. Attorney Arthur, with a serious expression, took detailed notes of every word. Do you have any copies of the documents you signed with your husband? No, Leland took them all. I don't have a single one. When exactly was the transfer of assets carried out? Just before the operation. He tricked me into thinking they were necessary papers for the surgery. After hearing the entire story, the attorney shook his head regretfully. To be honest with you, this is a very difficult battle. Alara's heart sank with that sentence. We can prove the infidelity, but the assets were transferred in a legally impeccable manner, and what's worse, with your consent. So there's nothing that can be done? She asked in a desperate voice. We can initiate legal proceedings, of course, but the chances of winning are extremely low. Not even after I donated my kidney, an organ that is part of my life. Unfortunately, organ donation is considered a purely voluntary and altruistic act, the lawyer explained, laying out the cold reality of the law. It cannot be considered a transaction in exchange for something, making it very difficult to demand legal compensation. Alara leaned back in the chair, deflated. So, that monster planned it all from the beginning. Clara next to her couldn't contain her anger. That bastard! He deliberately stabbed you in the back. He's a demon! Leaving the office, Alara and Clara walked in silence. In a big electronic store window, the news blared at full volume. The story of entrepreneur Leland Croft, who, with an iron will, has overcome a serious illness and triumphantly returns to the business world. Leland's healthy, confident face filled the screen. He smiled at the camera. And soon the door opened. Her mother-in-law looked at her with a glacial expression. What are you doing here? It's me, Mother, Alara. And what did you come for? She said, blocking the way with her body, opening the door only halfway. Mother, what Leland is doing to me is too cruel. Please help me. And what do you expect me to do? Miss Genevieve sighed with annoyance. It's already a settled matter. What can be done now? You knew everything from the beginning, didn't you? Alara's eyes filled with tears. Whether I knew or not, what does it matter now? The woman pulled a bulky white envelope from her purse. Take this and let's settle this once and for all. It was an envelope full of cash. I don't need money. I didn't come for that. Then what else do you want? My son Leland needs to fly high now. He has to start a new life, she said coldly. You go live your life. It's what's best for everyone. Mother, I gave your son a kidney, Alara cried out, desperate. Yes, and I'll thank you for that all my life, but that can't be a burden on him forever. She forced the envelope into Alara's hand. Take this and never reappear in our lives. My Leland is about to start a big business, the woman said as she closed the door, so don't be an obstacle in our way anymore. It's a favor I'm asking you. Clank. The door shut mercilessly in her face. Alara stood there, devastated in front of the closed door. She left the envelope on the ground and turned away. Each step she took weighed a ton. On her way home in the darkness, she realized she was completely alone in the world. No husband, no family, no home. All she had left was an uncertain and desolate future with a body that was incomplete. On Clara's living room table, rejection letters were piled high. They were the result of her pilgrimage to every law office she could find. They had all turned her away, claiming she had no chance of winning. I guess this is the end, Alara murmured weakly, sweeping the letters away. What end? We haven't even started. Clara approached with her laptop and set it down in front of Alara. Alara, I've been searching all night. What do you think of this lawyer? On the screen was an article from an online magazine, Silas Blackwood, the attorney for lost causes and unprofitable lawsuits. His success rate is super. She opened the door and found a small office cluttered with mountains of papers. A middle-aged woman, the secretary, looked at her over her glasses. How can I help you? She asked in an indifferent voice. I'd like to speak with the attorney. Do you have an appointment? No, I couldn't get one. The secretary looked at the calendar on the wall. Well, he's fully booked today. You'll have to come back next week. Please, I beg you, it's a very important matter, Alara pleaded, her voice desperate. I'm sorry, those are the rules. Make an appointment first and then come in, the secretary said, shaking her head definitively. Just as Alara was turning away, the weight of the world on her shoulders, the door to the inner office opened and a middle-aged man walked out. He wore a suit that fit him well, but his face reflected all the tiredness in the world. Mrs. Reyes, when is the next appointment? He asked the secretary. In 45 minutes, Mr. Blackwood. Good. I'll go out and get some air. As he put on his old coat, Silas Blackwood's gaze stopped at the folder Alara was clutching tightly. Among the papers, he managed to read, Organ Donor Certificate. He stopped and looked at her face. In her eyes, he saw a mix of desperation, deep rage, and resignation. Excuse me, what matter did you come about? He asked Alara directly. For a divorce, for a consultation, but I don't have an appointment. Does it have something to do with an organ donation? He asked, pointing directly at her papers. Yes, I gave my kidney to my husband and... Alara's voice broke, unable to stop herself. Now he has abandoned me and stolen all my assets. Blackwood turned to his secretary. Mrs. Reyes, delay the next appointment by an hour. But Mr. Blackwood, that's complicated. Don't worry, I'll call the person myself to apologize. Silas Blackwood opened his office door wide. Please come in. Alara walked in confused. The walls were covered with shelves crammed full of law books and files that looked about to overflow. On one wall were press clippings of cases he had lost. Have a seat. Would you like something to drink? No, thank you. Alara sat in an old leather chair. Tell me everything from the beginning, in full detail, Blackwood said, opening an old notebook. Alara began table. What is your husband's name? Leland Croft. And the company that received the funds, a company in the name of a woman called Isolda. I don't know much more. Blackwood looked thoughtful, a deep expression on his face. Do you remember anything Leland said about that investment before the surgery? Alara dried her tears, trying desperately to remember. Now that I think about it, he said something about investing in a new biological technology. A biotech investment, yes. When he took me to sign the papers, at that precise moment something flashed like lightning in Alara's mind. Ah, I remember part of the company name. What was it? IT Biologics. Yes, he said it was IT Biologics. Hearing that, Blackwood's tired eyes shone with a cold, penetrating light. IT Biologics. The initials of that woman, Isolda, I suppose. Yes, that's the I and the T for Isolda. Blackwood quickly opened his laptop and began searching. I found it. IT Biologics Investments. Information about a small company appeared on the screen. The date of incorporation is exactly 2 months before your operation. Blackwood turned the monitor toward her so she could see. This is a clear scam, a shell company created from the beginning with the sole intention of deceiving you. Then can I win? Alara asked, her eyes filled with new hope. It won't be an easy battle at all, but it's not impossible either, Blackwood said, tidying the scattered papers. Mr. Croft probably also took out a life insurance policy. A life insurance policy? Yes, to collect a large sum of money if the operation went wrong. Blackwood stood up. I'll take this case. It's not a simple divorce. It's an atrocious crime that has destroyed a person's life. Tears welled up in Alara's eyes again, but this time they weren't tears of despair, but of hope. In Silas Blackwood's old, cluttered office, Alara felt for the first time that she had found an ally, and she broke down, releasing all the pain and rage she had suppressed. Blackwood silently offered her a glass of water. Calm down. The real battle starts now. Alara drank a sip of water with trembling hands and managed to calm herself. Are you really going to help me? From the moment I intention of robbing me from the start. Exactly. But this is just the beginning. There's an even bigger problem. Blackwood began searching a national insurance database. Do you remember signing any papers related to insurance before the operation? Alara desperately searched her memory. Now that I think about it, yes. Leland said it was in case the operation was complicated. Ilara's face suddenly went pale. Don't tell me the insurance was in my name. As Blackwood checked the database, his expression hardened until it became glacial. A $1.2 million life insurance policy. The designated beneficiary is your husband, Leland Croft. What? What did you say? Alara jumped out of her chair. Blackwood pointed to the screen. The structure is designed so that if you had died during the operation, Mr. Croft would have collected the full $1.2 million. Alara, her legs giving way, collapsed back into the chair. So they could have killed me. It's a very high possibility. But since the operation was a success, they changed their plan, Blackwood said, tidying the papers. They opted to keep the kidney and get rid of you cleanly with the divorce. How can a human being commit such a devilish atrocity? Alara covered her face with her hands. Attorney, is this evidence enough? No, not yet. They have everything perfectly tied up and disguised. We need irrefutable proof, Blackwood said, looking her straight in the eye. The most solid thing would be a voice recording in which Leland or his mother admit the entire plan. And how am I supposed to get something like that? There's a way, although it's risky. Blackwood opened a desk drawer and pulled out a tiny device the size of a fingernail, a miniature recorder. And what am I supposed to do with this? Go see your mother-in-law again, Blackwood said, handing her the recorder. If you appear desperate, like someone who has nothing left to lose, she'll surely let her guard down. And what should I say when I see her? Beg her to forgive you, that you'll drop everything. Implore her not to do this to you for the sake of the child you might have had. Alara took the recorder with trembling hands. And you think they'll reveal their true intentions that way? It's very likely. Similar, he said with a sad smile. And back then I didn't know anything, and I couldn't do anything to help her. Alara looked at Blackwood. In the deep regret reflected in his eyes, she felt his sincerity. Thank you. Truly, thank you. You can thank me after we win the lawsuit, Blackwood said, standing up. When you finish recording on Friday, call me immediately. As Alara was about to leave the office, she turned around. Attorney, what if I fail? Don't think about failure, Blackwood said flatly. But just in case, save my number on speed dial number 1 on your cell phone. Alara left the office. As she waited for the elevator, she touched the recorder in her pocket. She felt the cold touch of the metal on her fingertips. The time had come to play the most miserable role of her life. It was 3 days until Friday. Starting that day, Alara began to rehearse day and night in front of the mirror, the most wretched expression, the most pleading voice, the gestures of someone completely broken. Mother, please forgive me one more time. It was all my fault. she said to herself, looking at her own shattered reflection. She practiced how to cry uncontrollably, even how to kneel. Just then, her phone rang. It was Attorney Blackwood. "How are the preparations going?" "Well, I'm trying hard." "I just discovered something else." Blackwood's voice became grave. "It seems Mr. Croft prepared another document right before the operation." "What is it?" "It's an agreement stipulating that in the event of your passing during the surgery, all your assets would automatically transfer to him." A chill ran through Alara. Then he truly wished for my death. Yes, if you had died on the operating table, they would have kept everything. A silence fell on the other end of the line. Ilara's gaze turned cold as ice. She looked at her reflection in the mirror again. This was no longer an act. It was the true beginning of her revenge. Friday, 2 in the afternoon, in front of a luxurious spa on the Gold Coast, crowded with high-end cars, Ilara, purposely dressed in old, worn clothes, had created a fragile appearance, looking as if she were about to faint. Her hair was deliberately messy, and her face was pale, without a drop of makeup, waiting at the agreed-upon spot. Leaving the spa, were whispering as they watched them. "Please, please, just listen to me for a moment," Alara pleaded, desperately grabbing Miss Genevieve's arm. "Let go of my arm. Everyone is looking at us." Miss Genevieve shoved her away abruptly as if touching something dirty. At that precise moment, Alara knelt on the ground. "Mother, I beg you, I'm asking you this way." All the passers-by stopped, surprised, to look. Miss Genevieve's face turned bright red. "You get up right now! Right now!" The embarrassed woman pulled Alara's arm to lift her. "Come with me. We'll talk somewhere else, but not here." Miss Genevieve dragged Alara like a sack to the building's fire escape. As soon as they entered the cold concrete stairwell landing, she shoved her. "What is the meaning of this spectacle? You are completely crazy," she yelled furiously. "Mother, I am so sorry," Alara said, crying bitterly while remaining on the floor. "It was all my fault. Absolutely everything. I've caused irreparable harm to Leland," Alara continued between sobs. "I was a terrible wife. It's normal that he would leave me." Miss Genevieve's sharp expression softened a bit. "Well, it seems you finally realize your place." "Yes, Mother. I didn't deserve to be by Leland's side," Alara cried inconsolably. "I told you, you finally realize your place." "Mother, please, please give me a chance." Alara prostrated herself at Miss Genevieve's feet. "I'll treat Leland well again. From now on, I'll be like his dog, like his slave. I'll do whatever it takes." "It's too late. My Leland is very happy with Isolde," the woman said coldly. "Mother, I truly feel like I'm dying," Alara cried, hitting the floor. "I can't live without Leland. Please, save me." "Shut up. What's the use of all this now?" Miss Genevieve took out the familiar white envelope from her purse. "Take this and never appear in our lives again." It was a bulky envelope full of money. "You knew everything from the beginning, didn't you?" Alara asked in a trembling voice. "What?" "That Leland would abandon me after the operation." Miss Genevieve let out a contemptuous laugh. "Do you really doubt the obvious? He's my chair talking to someone on the phone." Ilara quickly hid behind a large pillar. Miss Genevieve, with a triumphant voice, was talking to a friend as she headed toward a private changing room. Ilara followed her in silence. The changing room door closed, but the woman's excited voice was clearly heard in the hallway. "Oh, darling, it's me. I just witnessed the most comical scene. Ilara came to beg me on her knees. How pathetic she was." Miss Genevieve's vulgar laugh continued. "But hey, thanks to fooling that idiot, my son saved his life." Ilara's hand trembled with rage, but she squeezed the recorder even harder. "Free kidney and all her assets. A sweet deal, right?" the woman said triumphantly. "Darling, is there another idiot like her in this world who would give a vital organ for love?" Ilara's gaze turned cold as ice. "Well, it's not like my Leland planned it from the start, but in the end, everything worked out perfectly. And when he met Isolde, the opportunity became even better. It's truly the end for Ilara. I threw an envelope full of cash at her, and she cried with gratitude. Ha ha." Miss Genevieve's scornful laughter echoed out of the changing room. Ilara left in silence and exited the building. In the underground parking garage, she found Ms. Genevieve's dark gray Audi. The chauffeur was dozing in the driver's seat. About 15 minutes later, Miss Genevieve appeared with a refreshed look after her massage and got into the car. As soon as the car started, she called someone again. The window was slightly open. Ilara, hidden behind a pillar, raised the recorder again. "Leland, it's Mom. I've taken care of the Ilara situation. I've resolved everything. She's completely given up, so don't worry. And start planning the wedding with that girl Isolde." The car left the parking garage. Ilara pressed the stop button on the recording. The screen confirmed that the file had been saved correctly. She pulled out her cell phone and called Silas Blackwood. "Attorney, it's me. I got it." "You did great. Can you send me the file right now?" "Yes, I'm sending it now." Ilara sent the audio file to the attorney. A moment later, Blackwood called her. "Confirmed. It's perfect." Blackwood's voice sounded excited. "We now have the bomb we needed to detonate at trial." Ilara looked back toward the spa building. Her mother-in-law was that woman that we know about all their crimes. Blackwood immediately drafted the legal notice. It detailed all the charges precisely and sharply. Planned asset fraud, attempted $1.2 million life insurance scam, and despicable infidelity. "Is it okay to show them all our cards like this?" Ilara asked, concerned. "To catch the snake, you have to flush it out of its hole. This legal notice will be the stick that stirs the hornet's nest," Blackwood said, putting the document into an envelope for certified delivery. "When they realize their perfect plan has been completely uncovered, they'll panic and make mistakes." Days later, in the luxury apartment where Leland and Isolde lived, the couple was relaxing, drinking wine in the living room. "The biotech thing is moving along great. We'll hit the jackpot soon," Leland said, satisfied, looking at his tablet. Just then, the doorbell rang loudly. A mail carrier delivered a certified envelope and left. "What is this? Looks like it's from the court." Leland opened the envelope, not giving it much thought. As he read the contents of the legal notice, his face fell apart. How? How is this possible? How do they know? "What is it? What's all the fuss about?" Isolde snatched the paper from his hands and read it. "They even know that IT Biologics is a shell company." Isolde's hand trembled like a leaf. Who? Who is helping that Ilara?" Leland yelled, grabbing the phone. Mom, we have a huge problem." Miss Genevieve's calm voice came from the other side. "Don't panic and explain yourself. What's going on, Ilara?" Leland frantically explained the situation. "Find our lawyer immediately. I don't care what it costs," his mother screamed, desperate. "Didn't Isolde's family have a trusted firm? Call there." Isolde took the phone and with trembling hands dialed a number. "Dad, it's Isolde. Something very urgent has come up." The next day, Leland and Isolde went to the largest law firm in the country. The managing partner of the firm received them. "Don't worry, I've handled hundreds of cases like this," the lawyer said confidently. "Even if they have evidence, in the end, a trial is a battle of interpretations." "But they say they have a recording with my mother's voice," Leland said, unable to hide his anxiety. "We can argue it was maliciously edited. We will contend that the important thing is the complete context of the conversation," the lawyer said. Next night, Ilara went to the luxury restaurant Leland and Isolde usually frequented, checking the reservation list. Their names were there. She walked into the restaurant. At the best table next to the window, they were sitting, drinking wine. "Long time no see," Ilara said, stopping in front of their table. "What are you doing here?" Leland jumped up as if he had seen a ghost. "Sit down. I came to talk to you." Ilara naturally grabbed a chair from the next table and sat down. "What do you think you're doing?" Isolde snapped, visibly irritated. "Get out of here before I call the manager. Call him whenever you want, but you better listen to what I have to say first." Ilara pulled some papers from her purse and threw them onto the table. They were the transcription of Ms. Genevieve's recording and the excerpts from the suspicious financial transactions. "What is this?" Leland's face turned white as paper. "It's the evidence of your crimes." "Only a part," Ilara said in a voice cold as ice. "I've come to give you one last opportunity before going to trial." "What opportunity?" "Get on your knees and apologize right now and give back everything you took from me." Leland let out a scornful laugh. "Yeah, right. What do you know to come here with this?" "I know everything. That you approached me with the intention of deceiving me from the start," Ilara said, looking him directly in the eyes, "and that you took out a life insurance policy in my name, hoping I would die in the operation. Everything." Thump! Isolde slammed her hand on the table. "This is all fake! You're trying to blackmail us!" "Fake? Fake is your miserable life," Ilara said, standing up. "My offer ends here. We'll continue the rest of the story in court." "Hey, Ilara!" Leland yelled, losing his temper. If you take one more step, I swear I won't hold back." "You won't hold back? What will you do to me?" She turned around slowly. "Tear out the other kidney I have left, you crazy jerk." Leland grabbed her arm hard. In that instant, all the restaurant patrons turned to look. "Let go of my arm," Ilara said in a quiet but firm voice. Leland, aware of the stares, reluctantly let her go. "The truth that comes out in court won't just be this," Ilara said with a final glacial sentence. "I will bring to light all the other secrets you are trying so hard." The dark sky. One star shone with special intensity. In a few days, the trial, where everything was at stake, would begin. Ilara was no longer afraid of anything. The day of the trial arrived. In front of the Cook County Courthouse, a crowd of journalists had gathered since early morning. The heartless husband who abandoned his wife after receiving her kidney. The case had captured the attention of the entire city. Ilara arrived with Silas Blackwood, both with serious expressions. "Don't be nervous. We're just going to tell the truth," Blackwood encouraged her, patting her shoulder. "I'm fine, attorney." Inside, the courtroom was packed. In the defendant's dock, Leland and Isolde were flanked by 3 lawyers. Miss Genevieve in the front row watched them with arrogance. "Defendants Leland Croft and Isolde Thorne, please rise," the judge declared, opening the session. "The defense has the floor." Silas Blackwood stood up. "Your Honor, this case is not a simple divorce over a loss of love. It is an act of planned asset predation, a miserable scam that took advantage of a person's kindness and sacrifice." "Objection!" Leland's lawyer jumped up. "The plaintiff's attorney is resorting to fiction to defame my clients." "Everything will be proven with evidence," Blackwood countered, connecting his laptop to the courtroom screen. He showed the documents for IT Biologics. This company, chaired by the defendant, Isolde Thorne, was quickly created just 2 months before the plaintiff's kidney transplant operation. And just before the surgery, the entirety of my client's assets, $480,000, was transferred to this shell company. It was a legitimate investment, agreed upon by both parties, Leland's lawyer counterattacked. The plaintiff signed all the documents. Agreed upon? At that moment, my client was about to donate her own kidney to save her husband's life. Do you think a lucid and normal consent was possible in such a desperate situation? That is a purely sentimental assumption. And this too? Blackwood showed the $1.2 million life insurance policy, with Leland as the beneficiary. This was also a legitimate precaution. A surgery always carries risks. It was a legitimate insurance contract to foresee any eventuality. Leland's face tensed. And why was it taken out in the plaintiff's name with the defendant as the beneficiary? Isn't that a stand? Do you remember the day of November 22nd last year around 3 o'clock in the afternoon? Yes, I remember it perfectly. Mr. Leland Croft and Ms. Isolde Thorne came in. Upon that statement, Isolde's face twisted in surprise. They withdrew a large sum of cash and requested to transfer a portion to an offshore account, a total of $480,000 originating from the cancellation of Ms. Ilara Croft's time deposit. Leland jumped up. "That was money for an investment." "Defendant, sit down. One more interruption and I will have you removed from the courtroom," the judge warned him. Blackwood continued. "Was the account holder, Ms. Ilara Croft, present?" "No, only those two came in." "How is a transfer of such magnitude possible without the holder?" Mr. Croft brought a power of attorney and a signature certificate. However, the signature on the power of attorney seemed different than usual to us, trembling and unnatural. "That is a personal assumption by the witness," Leland's lawyer protested. "No, we are obligated to verify the signature. That's why we tried to call the client, Miss Ilara, to confirm." "And what happened?" Mr. Leland Croft aggressively prevented us from doing so, saying his wife was busy at the hospital preparing for an operation and that under no circumstances could we call her. The entire courtroom murmured in shock. "And where was the plaintiff, Ilara Croft, at that moment?" "I was admitted preparing for surgery," Ilara replied from her seat, wiping away a tear. "The next day I was donating my kidney to my husband." Leland's face turned red with rage. "Your Honor, I request a recess." 10-minute recess. In the hallway, the shouts of Leland and Isolde were heard. "Are you crazy? Why didn't you tell me the bank guy could testify?" Not in my worst nightmares did I think they would call him. When the session resumed, Blackwood announced his final evidence. Your Honor, the recording of the defendant's mother, Ms. Genevieve Croft. Ms. Genevieve in the courtroom let out a cry. That is illegal! No, Your Honor, it was recorded by the plaintiff, who was a party to the conversation. It is admissible evidence. Ms. Genevieve's cruel and mocking voice resonated through the courtroom. Anticipation was immense. Leland arrived haggard with dark circles and sunglasses. Mr. Croft, do you have anything to say? It's all a misunderstanding. The truth will be known in court, he replied in a shaky voice. The courtroom was even fuller than on the first day. Miss Genevieve, though discharged, did not dare to appear. Blackwood stood up. Your Honor, today I will present medical evidence that proves the defendant's guilt with his own body. This is a specialist report on the immunosuppressants Mr. Croft is taking. And what does that have to do with anything? Leland's lawyer asked. These drugs, combined with extreme stress, can cause acute rejection of the transplanted organ, leading to necrosis. Leland shifted restlessly. Blackwood projected thousands of headlines and hateful comments against him on the internet. Objection. This has nothing to do with the case. Objection overruled, the judge said. Miss Genevieve's recording played again. Leland's body began to tremble uncontrollably. Are you feeling well, Mr. Croft? Yes, I'm fine. Blackwood delivered the next blow. The text messages between Leland and Isolde. As soon as the operation is over, we'll get rid of her. Don't worry, Ilara was just a disposable card. The public gasped in indignation. How did you get these? Isolde shouted. With a court order, of course. In that instant, Leland grabbed his side. Ah, my kidney hurts. He fell to the floor, writhing in pain. The defendant has collapsed. Call medical services, the judge yelled. As he was being carried out on a stretcher, Isolde whispered to her lawyer. Attorney, what about me? Can I get out of this? Miss Thorne, what are you saying? I'm not his wife or anything. We were just business partners. She tried to leave, but the judge stopped her. Defendant, you cannot leave the courtroom without permission. The trial was postponed again. Upon leaving, journalists surrounded Ilara. Your husband collapsed in front of you. How do you feel? Ilara looked at the cameras. He has reaped what he sowed. A single sentence, cold as ice, and she pushed her way through the crowd. In the emergency room, the doctor was clear with Miss Genevieve. Acute rejection. The betrayal itself. 1 year later, in downtown Austin, at the inauguration ceremony for the Phoenix Initiative for Women's Rights, Ilara, as president, took the podium. Good morning, everyone. 1 year ago, I went through the darkest, longest tunnel of my life. But thanks to the help and support of many, I was able to stand up. Now I want to share that courage and that hope with others who, like me, are walking through a dark tunnel. May this foundation be a small seed of that hope. Applause filled the room. In the audience, Silas Blackwood and Clara Reed looked at her with pride. Congratulations, Madam President. You are the strongest, most admirable woman I have ever met. It's all thanks to you, attorney. Without you, it was your bravery that accomplished everything. Look at you. You're unrecognizable, Ilara. You shine. I'm not unrecognizable. I've simply found my place, Ilara smiled. At the same time, in the dialysis unit of a hospital in Chicago, the rhythmic beeping of the machine marked time. Leland, pale and vacant, stared at the ceiling. How are you feeling today, Mr. Croft? Same as always, he replied weakly. An older patient in the bed next to him asked, Hey, young man, so young and already on dialysis. What happened to you? The kidney I had transplanted failed. Wow, that's a shame. And who donated it to you, with how difficult that is? My wife. Well, my ex-wife, Leland replied, closing his eyes. And you can't get another one? The waiting list is years long. Who knows when? His old cell phone rang. It was his mother. Son, are you feeling better today? Hey, did you pay the rent for the residence this month? Not yet. I don't have a dime in the account. Oh, and that Isolde? Any sign of her? No, she fled abroad a long time ago. I can't take it anymore either. Living here is very expensive. I know. Don't worry about me anymore. He hung up. He looked out the window. The sky was gray and it was starting to rain. Meanwhile, at Austin Bergstrom International Airport, Isolde Thorne had just landed, wearing sunglasses. She walked quickly, ready to forget the nightmare of the Midwest and start anew. "Ms. Isolde Thorne?" Some people spoke to her in familiar English. They were agents. She continued on her way. In a coffee shop, she opened her laptop and wrote on the foundation's website, "Wounds don't disappear. They turn into scars. But scars don't just hurt. They also make us stronger. Today, I choose hope instead of despair." The messages of gratitude soon poured in. "Thanks to you, I found the courage to move forward. I can also leave my past behind and start anew. Thank you for giving us hope." A warm smile appeared on her face. Her phone rang. It was Silas Blackwood. "Madam President, I have excellent news." "What is it, attorney?" "Isolde Thorne has been arrested in the United States and extradited to Chicago today." "I see," Alara replied calmly. "And Leland's mother has also been charged with concealing her son's assets." "Then is everything truly over?" "Yes, it's all over." She hung up and looked out the window. The sun was setting, staining the sky a beautiful reddish color. Upon arriving at her new, small but cozy apartment, the warm air enveloped her. In the living room, instead of the old photos, there were new ones. A photo at the foundation's inauguration, smiling with Silas Blackwood. A fun picture with Clara. In all of them, her face radiated happiness. She sat on the sofa and opened her journal. "Today, my terrible revenge has ended, but my life, the real one, has just begun. I can be happy with just one kidney. I'm going to be the happiest person in the world." She put down the pen and looked out the window. Stars were beginning to appear in the night sky. The next morning, on her way to the foundation, her steps were lighter than ever. People on the street moved with energy, each with their own hope. Alara naturally mingled with them. The painful melodies of the past were just a distant echo. Now Alara was composing the new, vibrant symphony of her own life with her own strength. Thank you for following this story to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel to join us in more stories like this. If you want to watch another life story, click the video on screen. I promise you'll love it.